What's good, everybody? I'm Jędrek. He's Sodek. And today we're gonna talk about cards from Phyrexia March of Machines that are interesting in our opinion for both Modern and Pioneer. Let's go. Alrighty. So, the new set is upon us. It kind of seems like Phyrexia will be one just got released. At least it feels that way for me. And we will also get another like half a set, I guess, in March of Machines Aftermath, I think it's called. In like a month. I don't really know the timeline for Aftermath, but it will be like 50 cards or so. So that's kind of weird because like half of a set or not even a half of a set that's releasing kind of in between of things. I don't know. It's not our concern today.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm like, when this aftermath thing.
I think
be
it's
legal?
after the Pro Tour and before RC in Athens or RC3.
Okay, so
That's
like,
what
it
I
will
think.
It will be legal everywhere.
I think so, yes.
What?
Uh,
and like, will they have like special boosters for this aftermath thing, or
I have no idea. I don't think there will be boosters because there will be like 50 cards in the set or something. So, like, third of cards in the set would be in boosters. I don't know. I will just Google it. March of Machines. Aftermath. There will be. Yeah, it looks like there will be packs from Aftermath. Mini standard expansion coming on May 12th. So a week after the Pro Tour. Which is
What's the reason?
which is very, very strange. But yeah, once again, this is not our concern today. Our concern today are cards from the new set.
Yes.
That are, once again, impactful in either Modern or Pioneer. And we will start with cards that are good in both of, or have a potential to be good in both of those formats. And it's not a very long list. I think that March of Machines is following a very desirable trend, at least in my opinion, of recent standard sets of being reasonably impactful in younger formats like Pioneer and not having too many cards that are important for Modern and older formats in general. Of course, we missed Atraxa last time. We just forgot about it. So it was more of a like omission than we thought that the card was good, but we just forget to add it. But yeah, okay. Nevertheless, let's start with the first card that many people think that it's the most impactful card for Constructed, at least from what I saw on Twitter and in like Magic Internet in general, which is not very common, I think, for this type of card, which is a 1 mana protection spell. We are talking about Search of Salvation. It's an instant for 1 white mana that says you and permanents you control gain hexproof until end of turn and prevent all damage that black and or red sources would deal to creatures you control this turn. So I've had a good amount of cards that are somewhat similar in the last few years that saw some play. If we want to date back to like Kaladesh, we had Blossoming Defense, had the other one that's for 2 mana, granted hexproof and indestructibility. Heroic Intervention, I think. We have Blacksmith Skill in Modern currently, seeing a bunch of play in Hammer. So why do you think that this card is something that can be a reasonable upgrade over those cards?
In my opinion, the most important thing is that it gives hexproof to both you and all of your permanents. So it's relatively easy to engineer a situation when this will trade up on mana or protect your key spell for this one turn. Okay, Modern is more narrow in terms of where this card can be played, and like I saw some ideas that this card can be good in Modern Hammer. Like obviously we have blacksmith skills already, but it doesn't target. It protects all of your permanents, so it's a really good response to Force of Vigor. Something
And to
that
Fury.
like and to Fury and like any other effect that can target multiple things. So finally, Hammer has a clean answer to these effects, and um, it obviously has some downsides. For instance, uh, it won't protect you from effects like engineered explosives. So it's not an undestructibility. It's only hexproof. So like we'll see in the future if the card will be better than Black Sea skills. In terms of Pioneer, I feel that like if we compare this card to Brave the Elements, like Brave the Elements was giving you a protection for the chosen color. This protects you from direct colors. Like it gives a protection for black and red. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. So
Not even protection, just prevent all damage from those colors.
from this perspective, it's a bit worse. But again, hexproof on all your permanents. I can find some situation when it can be good, as well as like protection from hand disruption. I don't feel that there are any cards like, for example, invoke despair. I'm testing standard right now, and countering invoke despair for 1 mana looks super powerful.
That's very strong. Yes.
And I don't feel that there are such effects in Pioneer, but we'll see. I feel it can be a really good one. For instance, I can see it being played in Greasefunk, maybe.
I thought about the
Humans,
Greasefunk as well.
because like it protects you early from this card. It protects your key spell on multiple levels. You can protect Greasefunk. You can protect your vehicle. You can even protect your your bad creatures in combat.
Yeah, you can
give
also
them
protect
protection.
like, I don't know, you play the Sika's Chariot and somebody wants to use like, I don't know, Anger of the Gods or some other super effect to kill your board so you can't crew. Like in general, I think that Surge of Salvation has a somewhat reasonable chance of being okay in Greasefunk. Like people have been playing cards like Tamiyo's
Silence.
Safekeeping
Yes, that was.
in Greasefunk, and I think this is largely an upgrade. When it comes to the playability of this card in Modern, once again, mostly in Hammer, I'm not super convinced. Like, I think that like it's a fair trade-off of being good against Fury and Force of Vigor and versus being bad against explosives. But it's not that Blacksmith skill was that bad against Force of Vigor or Fury as well. Like, at least from my experience, when I'm looking at like Hammer and stuff, it fairly often you just want to protect one crucial thing, and like both Fury and Force of Vigor, like they can't kill, like they can't deal with both creature and equipment usually, unless the creature is artifact as well. But it's very common for like, I don't know, you are attacking with a non-artifact creature like Pure Steel or Stormforge Mystic, and they Force of Vigor your Hammer, and then you have, okay, I can protect it with Blacksmith skill, or they want to kill your creature with Fury, okay, I can Blacksmith skill it. And I think the fact that Explosive is one of those cards that kill both a creature and an equipment fairly often, and also a very, very popular sideboard card in so many decks. I think that I would rather be playing Blacksmith skill. Once again, I've never played Hammer in my life. I watched a lot of Hammer, and I've played against Hammer probably hundreds of times at this point. And from what I think, like from experience and theory crafting, I would rather play Blacksmith skill. And it even has some minor upsides like fizzling creativity, which doesn't happen that often, I think, anymore. Like I think most creativity players at this point, like of course sometimes they can't afford to play it for 2, and then Blacksmith skill would be great. But it's not that big of a deal, I think. So in short, I think that Surge of Salvation, like, it's a good card at what it does. A very good card even, very efficient. But whether the thing that it's doing is something you want is unclear to me, basically.
Yeah, like generally speaking, the protection tricks are better and better, like moving forward. Like if
very
we compare
pushed.
this, yeah, they're more and more pushed, and I can see it being played mostly because in Pioneer, in Modern, like it's Hammer, that's it. In Pioneer, it can be played mostly because it serves more than one purpose. It can protect your creature, but also can protect you from discard or burn spells. So, or like another like combo-ish cards. I can not think about any of them right now, but there are like multiple moments when like hexproof for you will
It can protect
the deal, yeah.
from Liliana of the Veil as well, while
For instance.
like usual hexproof protection spell won't protect you from sacrificing a creature with Liliana. Okay, moving forward, we have Pile On, which is an instant for 3 and a black, so 4 mana total. It has Convoke, and it says destroy target creature or planeswalker, Surveil 2. So, when Sodek messaged me with his list of cards that are like potential additions to existing archetypes, or just cards with potential to see play in Modern and Pioneer, he was kind of excited about Pylon, and I kind of shared that excitement. And I know that you mentioned Yawgmoth as a deck that you can see Pylon being a playable card, and I share that sentiment once again. So, why do you think that this is something that Yawgmoth would want to have in their 75?
Yawgmoth already plays a bunch of removal post sideboard. The most often you can see Fatal Push or Go for the Throat or like any other card you want to think of that can kill Murktide Regent. As long as your card like it's a 1 mana cheap removal to kill something early, or 2 mana kill Murktide Regent, that's a fair trade. Pylon has an upside of having an option to be a 1 mana kill Murktide Regent card. The Surveil ability is kind of okay, but it's not as relevant in my opinion.
I think it's quite relevant, honestly.
It's good, but in my opinion, more important thing is that you can play the card for from one land and a bunch of other creatures. Yes.
Oh, definitely. But it's like, if you think about like bonus tackled on tags that removal spells have sometimes, I think that's one of the.
It's good.
That's one of the best. Like, for example, I don't know, Vraska Contempt was Gain to Life. Surveil 2 is much better than Gain to Life in most cases, I think. At least in those like older formats.
Yeah, so I expect it to be played in Yawgmoth. In terms of Pioneer, I struggled like to find the best place for it. Like the most played black decks, like Rakdos Midrange, for example, is not very high on having a lot of creatures on board. Like,
yeah, but they fairly often have like 1 or 2 creatures.
Yeah, 1 or 2 is a good
at this
thing.
point, it's like an instant speed Dreadbore with an upside, right? Oh, that's kind of cool.
But you also have to tap creatures so you don't attack or block. So
that's
it can be tricky.
There's one deck that I can think about in terms of Pioneer, and it's Mono Black Naganiacz, a very popular deck in Poland.
Yeah, like there's a Mono Black Zombies deck.
Like Mono Zombie mid-range deck with Lazote Breaver and like Crypt Breaker, Dark Salvation, I think the card is called. And yep, like I think it's just a card that I think this is a somewhat strong effect for 3 mana. I think it's very good for 2 mana and it's excellent for 1 mana.
Yeah, I also feel that this can be another piece of the puzzle to Tyvar decks. Like we already could see some black-green sacrifice decks that are around. Like this Surveil fits really well to the strategy.
That's true.
You usually have a lot of creatures to convoke, and traditionally having a hard removal for 1 mana in this type of decks is super cool. So maybe this is another like piece of the puzzle for Tyvar slash Dark no, not Dark Citadel decks. Not Dark Steel.
Bolas's Citadel.
Yes, Bolas Citadel. So like I feel the deck has had already a potential, like Giant Citadel or Black Green Tyvar Sacrifice, and giving them yet another like tiny upgrade can help them to break through to become a maybe not a major force but a solid tier 2 deck. moving forward.
That's true. Okay. Last card that we think can possibly show up in both formats, and I think it's my pick for the most powerful, best card in the set is Yuta Takahashi's World Championship card called Fairy Mastermind. So it's a 2 mana, 1 and a blue for a 2/1 flash flying fairy rogue. It has a triggered ability whenever an opponent draws their second card each turn, you draw a card, and an activated ability for 3 and a blue, each player draws a card. First of all, I love that this creature actually looks like Takahashi. Unlike, I for example, Fervent Champion didn't look at all like Javier. Elite Spellbinder kind of looked like Paulo.
It was a small Paulo.
It was a very small face on the card, like can't really see it, and Fairy Mastermind is very in your face about that, about being a world champion card, and I love it. I also think that I will love playing this card for the most part. I wish it was a 1/2 instead of 2/1, so Ren and 6 can't kill it. But even with this set of stats, I think it's a good way to just add to your creature arsenal if you are looking for something that is kind of cheap, can pressure well in the air. You can play it EOT when you hold up counterspell and they don't play into it. In general, it plays extremely well with counterspells because you can play it after they don't play anything and you hold up mana. And then if it's already in play, you can use its activated ability to effectively draw 2 cards. Like you are drawing 2, your opponent is drawing 1. So you are 1 card up still in that trade if you activate it in your opponent's end step and they already draw 1 card that turn. I just think that it checks so many boxes for so many decks that potentially can be interested in this type of card. I don't know how good those decks will be, but it's a fairy, and people love playing fairies. Sadly, if you want a fairy subtype to matter these days, you need to print it on common creatures because Pauper is basically the only format in which fairies are good. But it won't stop me from playing fairies in my local game store. Like, it's an exciting addition to the tribe. It's also a rogue. Sometimes people 5-0 with rogues in Pioneer. So maybe we can try that. It's also it's a flash creature, it's a flying creature. So for any type of this mono blue kind of or bluish tempo decks, that's something that might be a worthwhile addition. And it's just a pretty good standalone card that you can just throw in to your, Murktide deck. Is it good enough for Modern? We'll see. But I think it shows a lot of promise, basically.
I also feel that the card will be really good in Legacy.
It
feels like it's designed for Legacy.
I think, and I guess to some extent Vintage. It just seemed like a card that's very good in high-powered format with a lot of free spells that you can.
When drawing cards is good, yeah.
Yes, because you have free spells and very powerful spells, so drawing cards is much better in those formats. So.
the younger the format is, the harder for me is to find a home for Fairy Mastermind. Like I can see it being good in like Pioneer, slashy, draw go situations, but like maybe in blue white post sideboard.
I can just
But
see you playing 4 of those in your blue-white sideboard, and I don't know, you're playing against Lotus Field, and you are just playing this. You keep drawing cards. They play, I don't know, they cast Pour Over the Pages, and you may draw into a counterspell for their next spell if you don't have counterspell already in hand. So yeah, I think that this card will see a decent amount of play.
that's true.
Okay. So now we are gonna move to modern only cards because it's a significantly shorter list than the Pioneer one. And first up, we have the first Avengers card, let's say, which is a team up of 2 different legends.
Okay, before we start talking about actual cards, what do you think about this Avenger team? Like, I personally I don't like this idea because like this card looks maybe not awful. Awful is a bad word, but like
Weird, kind of.
some of them like weird, it's so out of the place that like they question the what these cards were in the past. Yeah, like for example Talia and Githot Monster. Like why like it was a super cool frog. Why you need to add Talia to it? It's a
Like I
big
was
problem
never
for me.
a big fan of team ups in any kind of universe, so or universum rather. So I'm not super big on those as well. But it's not like I'm super mad that they did that or anything like that. Like it's just here, and I hope they won't keep doing it like as a regular thing in new sets. I hope it's just like this is like somewhat of a finale of a very large story arc, and Magic the Gathering lore is not great in my opinion, and also not something I'm interested in, even if it's great.
Yeah,
So I just play cards that I get. So
yeah. At least arts are really cool. I really like the arts, but like the concept behind them, not so
okay.
much. But
So
let's talk about cards. Yeah.
yeah, let's talk about Kroxa and Kunaros. It's a 6 mana card, so 3 and 1 of each Mardu mana. For a 6/6 Vigilance Menace Lifelink, it's a legendary creature, Elder Giant Dog, and it has a triggered ability that's yeah, that's a that is basically a reason that we are talking about this card. It says whenever Kroxa and Kunoros enter the battlefield or attack, you may exile 5 cards from your graveyard. When you do, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So there is a combo with Altar of Dementia. Altar of Dementia is a 2 mana artifact. You sacrifice a creature, and you target player mills cards equal to the number to the power of that creature. So it's a repeatable 0 mana way to sacrifice your creatures. So what you can do is you have Altar of Dementia in play, and you somehow put Kunoros or Kroxa and Kunoros into play, be it casting it for 6 mana or getting it back with Goryo's Vengeance or Footsteps of Goryo. You can, with the trigger on the stack, you can sacrifice it to Altar of Dementia to mill 6 cards, and then use the trigger to bring it back. And you might ask, oh, but when the trigger is getting on the stack, I don't have Kroxa and Kunoros in my graveyard. Shouldn't I target at this point? Well, no, because you choose targets when you exile those 5 cards. It's a very similar thing with Grist. When you use minus ability of Grist, you sacrifice a creature, and after you sacrifice, then you are choosing targets for Grist. So you can do that. You can bring back your Kroxa and Kunoros. It's important that this nets you one card in your graveyard because you are exiling 5 and milling 6. So after you mill your whole deck, one of those cards you did not exile was Thassa's Oracle. And then you use the last trigger to bring back Thassa's Oracle for a clean kill, and you just win the game. So it's a two card combo. It's 2 card if you want to cast it for a lot of mana. It's 3 card combo if you want to do it somewhat fast. And I don't know. It seems like something. Like there are a bunch of decks that you can see these days that are like kind of combining like some form of mid-rangey or value plan with reanimating big creatures with Glorious Vengeance, namely Atraxa, in like various decks. Maybe you can just play Kroxa and Kunoros in like some sort of a food deck with Altar of Dementia. I don't know. Maybe you want to play, I don't know, a fucking Goblin Bombardment and I don't know, Altar of Dementia, Bloodgust, you know. Like, I'm not saying that this will be good, but it will be cool. And it will probably be good enough for you to play at your FNM or to 5e League from time to time. And
Yeah, I wouldn't be mad at all if I lose to this combo. Like I would actually like to lose to this Altar of Dementia Kroxa plus Kunoros.
So I
plus
can
Thassa's
promise
Oracle.
you that if I ever see Sodek losing to this, I will videotape it. And if he's mad, I will post it on YouTube.
You can cancel me then if I break my word.
Yeah. And
Okay, moving forward. Okay, another card is
Invasion of Ergemon, which is a 2-mana saga for 1 red and 1 green. And when it enters the battlefield, you create a treasure token, then you may discard the card, and if you do, you draw a card. And it has toughness, or like I don't know how it's called, like how's the name for that? Like Planeswalkers have the
Defense?
loyalty. I think it's defense. I think it's actually defense. It has a defense of 5. And on a flip side, it's a 3/4 trample. And when it enters the battlefield, you may discard a card. If you do, search your library for a land, any land, not only basic. Or battle card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. So, I guess this is a good moment for us to talk about battles in general.
Yes.
So, I don't know. Like,
let's talk about battles. I don't know. Great talk.
I don't know how I feel about them, basically. I think that attacking them will be much less profitable than people think it will be, because it's like you just want to attack your opponent so often, especially if you have to, like, I don't know, get in the combat. Like, if it's uncontested combat, you just have creatures, they don't have blockers, and you just attack a battle and you kill them. And it's basically a 3/4 creature that gives your opponent 5 life. That's okay. But if you, like, I don't know, have to trade something in combat, or spend a removal spell on a blocker that you otherwise wouldn't, or I don't know, downthink your planeswalker to push your creatures through, that might be not worth it at that moment. So I think that, first of all, you should mostly be interested in battles that are decent on the front side, like those effects that are good on their own on the front side. And second of all, you should very closely pay attention to how much defense your battles have and how much power your creatures in deck have. So, for example, if you have a deck full of 4-powered 3-drops, like, I don't know, your Bonecrusher Giants, or your Old Growth Trolls, or your Sheoldreds, which is 4-drop, not a 3-drop, but still. If you have a lot of creatures that can one-shot your battle, it gets significantly easier to achieve that, in my opinion. So, for example, with a battle that has 5 defense, that's kind of hard to one-shot with a creature that's like somewhat cheap, like 4 or less. If you have a battle that has 3 counters, that's a lot of creatures that can kill it. Like, I don't know, Bloodtide Harvester, Old Growth Troll, all the creatures I mentioned, so Giant, Sheoldred, Graveyard Trespasser. So many different things that can kill. Like, if a battle has low defense, you can even chip it away with Dwarven Mind tokens. And I guess this might actually happen somewhat often in case of Invasion of Ergamon, because the deck in which we see this card potentially showing up is Creativity, and more precisely, the Giant variant that Sodek will definitely love to talk about a lot. So take it away.
Really? I'm not that
You were
keen.
very
Okay.
excited before we started.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. Like the card does exactly 2 things that Giant Creativity wanted to do. Like it creates a treasure, so it's quite hard to kill target for creativity, and it also can discard Archon, so it's after Bitter Reunion yet another way to discard your Archon to the graveyard and play turn 3 Persis to return it and run away with the game. Will it be better than just a regular Timur or 5-color creativity? We'll see. Like the Giant version is getting better and better, so like maybe this is the missing piece of the puzzle. Maybe this another enabler will like force the 4 Archon 4 Persist build to be a good deck.
Yeah, what I like about this card in the context of Giant Creativity is that it also functions as a mana fixing to some extent. A lot of Giant Creativity lists have like Liliana of the Veil, which is a double black card, or you just have a black card but you don't have Renin 6, and it's like your one shot of black mana that you need. It's like a very limited substitute to Renin 6. If you like, basically you draw your, I don't know, you only drew Stomping Grounds and Dwarven Mines and Mountains, and you need to cast your black spells, like one black spell. You want to cast this one Persist.
Or like one discard before creativity.
Or one discard. What's also, I think, quite important is that you can go turn 3 Invasion into Persist because you are ramping yourself with a treasure. So like it's a turn earlier than usual from an empty board, yes. Which like gives you maybe not even an element of surprise, but people have to kind of respect it, or at least it's a possibility that can happen. And I don't know, you play Renin 6 on turn 2, you fight over that Renin 6, and then turn 3 you can go Invasion into Persist.
And win the game.
I think that I have a pretty big problem with any creativity deck that's not playing Spell Pierce. I think that Spell Pierce is absolutely like most bonkers card ever in that deck. Like it's insane how good Spell Pierce is in creativity, and how often it counters things when people have mana open because they can't step out. It's insane how good Spell Pierce is in that deck. But it's definitely another argument for trying out those Giant lists. Because I think if you are not playing Persist and relying somewhat heavily on it, this card is not good. Like it's not good enough in like Timur or 5-color creativity. You have better things to do. And the backside is like, once again, maybe you will attack it down with Dwarven Mine tokens. Like Dwarven Mine tokens are pretty good at like pressuring Planeswalkers. So pressuring battles also seems like something that can happen fairly often. And then
it can be quite good in non-games when like the opponent has some sort of hard hate, and you can create even big board to have like reactive spells and kill somehow the opponent.
And then you flip it, and you can you get another discard outlet in a flip side of both discarding from its trigger, and if you grab another copy of Invasion of Ergamon, you can discard to it again. It's also like kind of a mana fixing that way, because you can both find a land or create a treasure, or both. Or you can't do both, but you can do either of those. You have things like Boseiju that you can grab. You have a Dwarven Mind or a fetch land that you can use to have like, you can create multiple targets for multiple additional targets for creativity rather fast, which is cool. Like, this is just a cool card for this version of creativity.
Yes.
Okay, we'll stay on theme of invasions and battles, and the next card on our list is Invasion of Ikoria, which is a X green battle with defense of 6, which I don't think will matter very often. And when it enters the battlefield, you search your library and or graveyard for a non-human creature card with mana value X or less and put it into the battlefield. And then if you search library this way, you shuffle. So what this card can do compared to the other card that's kind of similar in Finale of Devastation. So some people will say that because, like, in what decks this card will be good? To some extent, you can find you can't fight Asmo with this one because Asmo is a human, but you can find Devoted Druid. And some people will say, but with Finale of Devastation, if you find Devoted Druid and then you have another one, you can kill your opponent. Well, if you are playing Stoneforge Mystic in Viridian Longbow, which most of those decks I think play, you can still find Stoneforge Mystic with the second Invasion of Ikoria, find Viridian Longbow and kill your opponent. So you don't need...
Stoneforge Mystic is a core, yes?
Yes, it's a core, not a human. Even though it looks like a albino lady, it's not a human. So you can still kill all the same with infinite mana, basically, if you have 2 copies of this. So where people are excited is maybe too big of a word, but what you can do, at least that's what we think that will happen. And I think that people on the internet are fairly unanimous in thinking the same way. So unless judges at our pre-release will disappoint us, I think you can find Vampire Hexmage and sacrifice it to remove all counters and then transform it. And on the flip side, it's a 8/8 legendary creature dinosaur with reach, and for each non-human creature you control, you may have that creature assign its combat damage as though it weren't blocked. So it's basically an 8/8 unblockable creature. More or less.
Okay.
And
It was quite hard to...
it's basically a 4 mana 8/8, which is... I don't think it's good enough. I also don't think that most of your decks in which... like, if you want to play it as a like backup plan against, I don't know, like I can imagine decks that have a lot of point removal, that Devoted Druid...
Unholy Heat decks?
Yeah, Unholy Heat decks, or like Scam with Furies. Well, Fury with a
Fury
click
kills
kills 8/8, but it costs them a lot of cards and it only deals with 1 card of your own. So I think it's a fair trade for you if they use Fury with a 3. Like, you are happy with this trade if they do that. But like, my problem is that in Devoted Druid, it's kind of hard to play Vampire Hexmage. It's a double black card, and you are playing a green-white deck. You want to play Tivar, I guess, so you're playing 3 colors. But like, getting to double black, of course, you usually want to find it and not play it.
Sometimes you'll draw it, yeah.
Sometimes you'll draw it. And how many copies are you even playing? Are you playing 2 copies of this card? Probably not. What is cool is that if you draw it, you play it, and then you play Invasion of Ikoria, and they kill it with Invasion on the stack, you can still get Hexmage from your graveyard, because Invasion of Ikoria lets you grab cards from your graveyard as well. So that's pretty okay. And you can sacrifice it at will so it doesn't get exiled. Yeah, like, I'm not super high on that, but it might be a minor upgrade to a tutor card in a somewhat playable deck, I guess. So, like, there's a lot of ifs and buts, but it might see some play.
Yeah, true. Like I feel it's an vampire hex mage dark depth at home. Yeah. So like,
Kinda.
yeah, like 8/8 is worse than 2020, but
If it was 10-10 at least, so you can kill it in 2 combats.
or you can like I'm maybe not so pissed, but like I feel the card would be much better in this combo if the Ziltora Apex of Ikoria had a ward even ward 1 would be like something to force the opponent to pay even more for the removal. So it will be like because you usually will like, unless it's a hard removal spell, if you want to burn it, you will have to go 2-for-1. Like imagine this card with ward 1, it would be much better in my opinion.
Yes. You have to pay 2 mana for Fatal Push then.
Oh, that's
Oh.
that was sad moment for me. Okay.
Yes, that's what I
Pioneer-
thought. That's what I hoped will be a sad moment for you, honestly.
Okay, it's already 40 minutes and
Yes,
have,
we are moving to Pioneer.
and it's like let's go speedrun 90% because
Okay,
we have a lot of cards in Pioneer.
we'll talk about Pioneer cards in clusters, basically, pertaining to different decks or archetypes they can fit in and improve. First of all, we have cards that we can see seeing play in various creativity decks. So we have Into the Fire, Volcanic Spite, and Ren and Realm Breaker. So Into the Fire is a 3-mana sorcery, 2 and a red. Choose one. You either deal 2 damage to each creature, planeswalker, and battle, and put any number of cards from your hand on the bottom of your library, then draw that many cards +1. So it's basically an alternative to Valakut Awakening, but instead of having the option of playing it as a land, you can use it to sweep the board, and you can deal damage to battles, which reminds me that I'm very tilted that all of those cards that have listed things that they deal with, and they were supposed to deal with everything, are not dealing with battles anymore, because battle is a new type. So, for example, I don't know, Brotherhood's End is a card that's less than it's half a year old, and it says creatures and planeswalkers, so it's very deliberately saying everything but players, but you can't damage battles with it. You can't bounce battle with Otawara. You can't bounce battle with Teferi. Maybe that's for the better. But it kind of tilts me. You can't destroy battles with Boseiju. I don't know. Then we have...
Let's go for
Yeah, I just wanted to list all the cards. Then we have Volcanic Spite, which is basically Fire Prophecy, but it can target, so it's 1 and a red instant, deal 3 damage to target creature. That's what Fire Prophecy did, and this can also damage planeswalkers and battles. That's the upside over Fire Prophecy. And then you can put a card from your hand to the bottom of your library, and if you do that, then you draw a card. So you will just play it instead of Fire Prophecy. The strict upgrade, nothing else to talk about here. And then finally, we have probably the most interesting card on this short list, which is Ren and Realm Breaker, which is a card that might see some play in some new brand of creativity decks, but also in like generic mid-rangey green deck. So Ren and Realm Breaker is 1 and double green, so 3 mana total for a legendary planeswalker Ren. It has passive ability of lands you control can add any color of mana to your mana pool when you tap them. So Chromatic Lantern, Joiner, other this kind of stuff. It has 4 starting loyalty, +1 is up to 1 target land you control becomes a 3/3 elemental creature with vigilance, hexproof, and haste until your next turn. It is still a land. It doesn't untap a land. It's very important to know that. It would be super good if it did that. It's still,
but it gives hexproof, so
it is hexproof. It will be a very hard card to kill in combat because it pluses to 5. It creates a blocker. If you play it past, like if you play it on turn 3 on the play, you have a 5 loyalty planeswalker that won't be killed in combat by their 2-drop. And if you play it later on, you will have a hexproof free blocker that can also attack because it has vigilance. -2 is mill-free cards. You may put a permanent card from among the milled cards into your hand. I think with this wording, it gets around Leyline of the Void and Rest in Peace. I'm pretty sure it's the case. It was the same way with Garuda. And then -7, you get an emblem with, you may play lands and cast permanent spells from your graveyard. So, and somewhat
Really good one.
somewhat I win button. It's not real I win. And in some situations, like it's less I win than, I don't know, Jace's ultimate, which is like a real I win button, really. That it's good. It amounts to basically what the Renin 6 emblem is, somewhat close. It's in the same realm of being very, very good. So
I feel that this
yeah.
deck Vren will not be that good in creativity decks. It can be a reasonable choice in Transmogrify, because like Transmogrify had a huge problem of like targeting. Like you need to play something that was creating creatures, but then these creatures didn't have hexproof, so like the removal from opponent's side was kind of hard to deal with. And like hexproof land that's a creature means that you're guaranteed to cheat, for example, Atraxa into play. Also, Vren works quite well with Atraxa in the deck, because you can easily cast it, and your mana base won't have to be that ambitious to do it. Also, there are a lot of permanents that can enable Transmogrify things, Esika Chariot, whatever. So I feel that Transmogrify decks can be good with Vren. I also feel that like maybe some 5-color Omnat piles can be better because of the static ability.
I think
with the land.
I think the fixing gets pretty overlooked on this card. Like you won't build like an impossible deck with this card. Like you will not build a 5-color Cruel Ultimatum style deck from standard when you just played Cruel Ultimatum and Cryptic Command and Cloud Thresher in the same deck. You won't build this kind of decks, but you will. For example, if you're playing the Transmogrify deck and you want more than 4 Transmogrifies, you can play Creativity and you can go Ren into triple green or triple red rather with any set of lands, because Ren fixes that for you. So I think that's pretty nice. And as Sodek said, some sort of like Omnath decks, mid-rangey, multicolor pile of cards in general. This is just a strong mid-rangey Planeswalker with potential to do some combo-y things, which is just also it also can do things with Jeskai Ascendancy. It allows you to have like a mid-range plan for Jeskai Ascendancy, I guess. It's a card that shows a lot of promise, I think.
Yeah, and like as long as you are not filled with just spells and you have a lot of permanents, it's like a really good. Like the starting loyalty, like you go
It's very
after
high.
you play it, it's 5, and then you just keep drawing cards. Super cool.
Yeah. So
And I want to also say about Into the Fire versus Varrock Awakening. Personally, I would most of the time want to play land attached to this type of effect, but like it's nice to have an option to rebuild into like certain metagames when, for example, humans are very popular.
And you have a main deck sweeper that way that can always cycle. That's kind of cool. And I guess like a word of caution when it comes to Renin 6, like we can all remember how people thought about Obnixilis, how it would be the best card ever and it ended up being basically unplayable.
It has moments. It has moments,
but it's way closer to unplayable than broken.
Yes.
So like Renin 6 might share the same fate, or Renin Realmbreaker rather, but I wouldn't be surprised if this card end up being very good or even good. Okay, so now we are leaving the Creativity Transmogrify pillar of Pioneer and moving into a maybe not long forgotten, but somewhat forgotten and definitely hated pillar of Pioneer, which is Mono Green Devotion. And there are some cards that you can play from the new set in that deck. So I guess technically you can also play Invasion of Ikoria in that deck, the Search Saga that we talked about when we were discussing Vampire Hexmage, because it's a tutor that also adds you Devotion. Like, you can go turn 1 elf, turn 2 Invasion of Ikoria, get an elf, and you have 6 mana on turn 3 with Nykthos.
It won't give you who controls the battle? You control.
You control. You are controlling the battle. Of course, you are controlling the battle.
Okay, that's cool.
Yes. So like you can do that. That might be cool. Also, you can like later in the game you can just grab an Algrove to roll or Cavalier. That might see play. But two cards that we had in mind specifically when it comes to Mono Green Devotion is Polukranos Reborn and Invasion of Ixalan. So Polukranos Reborn is a triple green for a 4/5 reach legendary creature Hydra, and it has an activated ability for a whopping 6 colorless and 1 Phyrexian white. Transform Polukranos Reborn. Activate only as a sorcery. And on the backside, it's Polukranos Engine of Ruin. It's a legendary creature Phyrexian Hydra. 6/6 reach lifelink. When Polukranos Engine of Ruin or another non-token Hydra you control dies, create a free green and white Phyrexian Hydra creature token with reach and a free green and white Phyrexian Hydra creature token with lifelink. So it's very reminiscent of Wurmcoil Engine, but instead of Death Touch, it has reach. Is reach better than Death Touch? I think it is on a 6/6, but it's worse on the 3/3. A 6/6 don't usually need Death Touch to kill things in combat, but reach is a very welcomed addition. But a 3/3 with Death Touch is more threatening than a 3/3 with reach, I think. Yes?
One random thing, Lair of the Hydra is a Hydra. So
Lair of the Hydra is a Hydra, and if you have a flipped Polukranos and you happen to draw another copy, you can play unflipped Polukranos, and if it dies, then you get two tokens, which is cool. Also, Mutavault is a Hydra, I guess.
yeah, and generally speaking, like triple green 4/5, like I feel that Nykthos decks when they have Troll on turn 2 after the turn 1 mana dork, like these are one of the best draws. Like like maybe some Kiora draws are better, but like this 3 mana 4 power creature lets you lets you not play only just as a slow ramp / combo deck, but can also generate tempo. And I feel that having more of this type of creatures is a good thing for the archetype. I feel that like because of the legendary rule, it won't be played widely. Like the first one is an easy addition. I'm not sure if you want to play second. Probably yes.
Yes,
But
like,
we'll see. Also,
also-
like this mana is like create making it into Wurmcoil Engine is not that hard in the deck with Nykthos around. So I can see it being a late mid / late threat. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we want to switch into a more stompy-ish deck. Also, like you have 8 elves, you have 8 3 mana 4/4s if you want to, or 4
Yeah,
and 5,
for
4
instance,
5.
creativity. Nykthos decks had these 2 flex slots. Sometimes you were playing Teferi, sometimes you were playing Sky Sovereign, Cost of Flagship, or whatever else you can think about. And now these 2 slots can be used for Hydras.
Yes. Then we have Invasion of Ixalan, which is another card that can cover those flex slots. It's a 1 and a green, so 2 mana for a battle. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a permanent card from among them and put it into your hand, and the remaining cards are going to the bottom in a random order. And then it has a defense of 4. And on the other side, it's 4/3 trample, and whenever you cast a spell, Belligerent Regisaur gets indestructible until end of turn. The backside is not very interesting to us, even though it has the defense of 4, and remember what I said about cards that can, if you have creatures in your deck that can attack it down in one combat, it's going up in value. So I can imagine playing this and then attacking with it with Old Growth Troll to get another 4-power Trampler. It's basically a slightly more expensive but also slightly more powerful Oath of Nissa. It also contributes to your devotion, at least before it flips. It can dig deep. It can dig deeper, which like improves your failed Storm the Festivals because you are looking at 5 instead of 3. Once again, you can go like turn 1 Elf, turn 2 Troll, and then if you play it on turn 3 and you attack it down with Troll, you suddenly just have 2 4-power creatures, and you are representing
That's
a lot of
fast
block. And then it can also grab you another copies of Invasion of Ixalan. It can grab you Oath of Nissa. It's Nykthos, like compared to Oath of Nissa, because Oath of Nissa also can grab Nykthos.
Yeah.
Like, I think it is literally impossible to miss with this card in Devotion because you only play 4 cards that you don't get, which are 4 Storm the Festivals, because you can get everything else, and I think everything else in your deck is permanent, at least pre-board. And I think, for post-board also because you're playing card. So, like, I saw people missing with Oath of Nissa. It's not very likely, but it is literally impossible with this card in the current build of Mono Green. Okay, moving on. We have a large chunk of cards, which are various cards that can be good if you are interested in blue and red spells and casting them early and often. So we're gonna start with a bit of a meme, I guess. It's Baral and Karizev. So it's a 3 mana, so 1 blue and red for a 2/4 legendary creature human with First Strike and Menace. And whenever you cast your first instant or sorcery spell each turn, you may cast a spell with lesser mana value that shares a card type with it from your hand without paying its mana cost. If you don't, create First Made Ragavan, a legendary 2/1 red monkey pirate creature token, and it gains haste until end of turn. It doesn't die or get exiled in your end step or at the end of combat. It stays on the battlefield. It's legendary, so if you make another one, then of course the first one will die, but you can block with it, you don't have to attack with it. It's a fairly strong effect. And you can also like cast the spell on your opponent's turn. And
is
then
it a better Monastery Mentor?
I don't think it's better. It's in a better color, maybe for this type of effect.
Yeah, like the more I like look at this card, the more I like it. Like it always creates like 2/1 like with haste. Like it's not a pro. Like I feel that Monastery Mentor had these moments when you could create, like you could play it, protect, get a token, then you played a few spells, get a few guys, but you could attack only with 2. They were bigger, of course, but it was easier to block.
Well, I think this card is like Monastery Mentor is much better if you can cast multiple spells with it. But
Yes.
the problem with Monastery Mentor is that you don't often get to cast a lot of spells with it on the table. And this card, like the immediate thing that may come to mind with this card are Delve spells.
Yes.
So you can cast Baral and Karizev on turn 4, follow it up with Treasure Cruise, and then you can cast Alaron's Epiphany for free from your hand. Or Magma Opus is 8 mana, right? So you can't cast Dig into Magma Opus. You can't. You can cast Dig into, I don't know, Sublime Epiphany. I don't know.
Like you can cast anything else, and it will be like
And even if you don't play this card, you still are getting a 2/1 creature. So I think we'll very, very soon be talking about another card for the similar type of decks. 3 mana 2/4 is a decent body. The problem with many of those creatures that are like spell matters creatures, like I don't know, the aforementioned Monastery Mentor or Young Pyromancer or third part of Iconoclast, is that their bodies are not very impressive. They all die to fucking Bonecrusher Giant, to Stomp. and to, I guess, your own like Anger of the God type of effect. So being a 3/4 or 2/4 rather also allows you to play this on turn 3 against like aggressive decks that don't play that much removal, and you can just hope to untap with it while doing something. Like you play this against humans, you will block basically any of their creatures on turn 3. Unless they were on the plane, they play Adeline. But then if they play Adeline and you don't kill Adeline, you are probably in a world of trouble anyways.
Like, at least you can block like tokens that will create or like all other humans that are not Adeline.
What you can actually do with this card is you can play it and play a spell against Adeline, and then you have a 2/1 and a 2/4, and that miraculously adds to 4 power, and you can trade with Adeline.
Nice. Like I also read the card. It's only whenever you cast your first instant or sorcery spell. So Monastery Mentor can create more tokens.
Okay.
So I feel in late game this card will be worse than Monastery Mentor.
Yes, I thought you knew that.
No.
But okay.
I think it's hard, you know.
You know that if they didn't say your first, then it will just cascade itself. Like you will cast the first one, you will cast one that's cheaper for free, and then you will cast another spell, so you will cast one that's cheaper for free if you want to, and you can cast like billion of cards for free. So I think this is kind of a meme, or at least I put it on the list as a kind of a meme because you can go Treasure Cruise into Alrund's Epiphany, or some other big card, but after looking at it, like I think this is a reasonable card. I think it's pretty cool. And speaking of pretty cool, reasonable cards that are 2/4 for 3 mana, we have Chrome Host Seed Shark, which is a very adorable homage to Shark Typhoon. It's a 2 and a blue, so 3 mana for a 2/4 flying Phyrexian Shark. And whenever you cast a non-creature spell, incubate X, where X is that spell's mana value. So once again, on turn 4, you can play this, and then you can play Treasure Cruise, and then you have an 8/8 that, well, it won't be able to block this turn, but after you pay 2 mana, it will be. And if you do it next turn, you can attack with it, because it will be transformed. It's still on the battlefield. Yada yada yada. I just think that it's such a good card in so many various situations in Pioneer. Like it's a good sideboard juke for your otherwise like creatureless deck. It's a very good sideboard juke for your otherwise graveyard reliant deck. Maybe not if you want to cast Treasure Cruise against, I don't know, Rest in Peace or whatever. Well, I can imagine playing this as a 2/4 and then playing Anger of the Gods next turn, killing your opponent's humans, not killing your own creature because it's a 4 toughness creature, not killing your tokens if you don't want to transform them. It just checks so many boxes. It's just a strong card, I think.
Even stupid lines like you play this Phyrexian Shark, then you force your aggro opponent into overextend to the board, and then you play Supreme Verdict. You get an incubate token, like incubate. Yeah,
Incubator token.
Yeah. You lose the shark, but you force the opponent to go wider, so they will lose even more cards, and
you will keep the token.
You will get a 4/4 anyway. So
yeah, for example, I don't know. You play this, they go Esika's Chariot. You sweep the board. You get a 4/4 that can conveniently trade with Esika's Chariot, which is a card that's usually problematic for like control-ish decks. So I have high hopes when it comes to Chrome Host Seed Shark. What I have...
There's also one... like, maybe I'm a dreamer, but there's one card from Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. It's Tezzeret Betrayal of Flesh, which has a static ability. The first activate ability of an artifact you activate each turn costs 2 less to activate. And like maybe there's a world when you can build an artifact deck that can use Tezzeret nicely, and you can like play turn 3 shark into turn for this, create
Yeah.
a token, and animate this like from the
Instantly.
static ability. Yeah. So maybe that's something. Maybe that's
And you can-
that's too cute.
Yeah, if you have multiple tokens, you can flip one on your turn for free and one on your opponent. Or is it only sorcery?
I don't know actually. No.
It doesn't say anything like that.
Maybe we can actually.
Yeah. You can sacrifice it, or you can transform it on instant speed. So yeah, I really like the curve of Seed Shark into Tezzeret because it's such a natural curve. I don't know if it will be good enough, but it looks cool. Okay, moving on to another.
The question, like go for another card. The question is, what other good artifact cards, like non-creature artifact team cards, you can find? Like, there's a Metallic Rebuke, for example, and like in Pioneer, it can be really good, in my opinion.
Yeah, another card that needs or prefers to have a bunch of cheap, this time creatures, to work is Meeting of Minds, which is an instant for 3 and a blue, so 4 mana total, with Convoke, and it draws 2 cards. So it's another variant of one mind, basically, or close to of one mind, which is a divination that costs only 1 mana if you have human and non-human, and it draws 2 cards. So it's basically now you have 8 cheap divinations and 8 pyromancers for your pyromancer deck. You can also play Seed Shark in that type of deck. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe Blue Red Spells is a good deck. Who knows?
Maybe.
I will definitely try it. That's exactly what I like in Magic. Cheap spells, cheap creatures.
Drawing cards.
Drawing cards, getting rewards for playing your spells, as we say in Poland. Zagrywaj karty, wygrywaj nagrody. So yeah. Nothing special about Meeting of Minds, just another piece of this deck if it's something you are interested in. It's worth noting that it's now in standard with Stoke the Flames and one of the Pyromancers and Seed Shark, so maybe there is something there. Also, the Pyromancer tokens are artifacts and Tezzeret is in standard. Maybe there is something there. Who knows? Who knows?
OMG.
Maybe Sodek will know for the PT. But
maybe not. Maybe I will never tell you because we maybe broke it. Okay, we did.
Yeah. Okay. Another card that can fit into those decks is Change the Equation, which is from the same cycle as Search of Salvation. So it's a hate card for 2 enemy colors. It's a 1 and a blue for an instant. Choose one. You either counter target spell with mana value 2 or less, or counter target red or green spell with mana value 6 or less. So basically, counter a cheap spell or counter virtually any red or green spell. It catches everything in the mono green devotion deck. That's red or green, so that's cool.
You can't counter Karn, yeah?
Yeah, everything that's red or green. Like you can't counter
that's
Karn or like Cityscape Leveler or Sky Sovereign on those type of cards, but yeah, you can counter Cavalier and Storm and everything else. Like I think the only way this card sees play is if you want it in your main deck, because if you are playing it from the sideboard, Aethergast is largely better, because you won't really board it in against non-red or non-green deck, just as a way to counter a like cheap spell. Like those Prohibit is not a very good effect to board in, I guess. But if like 2 mana counter spells kind of suck in Pioneer, and if you are playing a lot of like token generators, then Make Disappear gets better, of course. But like it's an interesting alternative to this type of card, and of course you don't have Aethergast like in standard. So, who knows? It counters Fable, which is the best card ever. And it counters Bloodtide Harvester no matter which mode you choose. So it should counter 2 Bloodtide Harvesters for the price of 1 card, in my opinion. But it doesn't. Okay, and the last card from the same package is Chandra Hope's Beacon, which is, or as Canister calls it, Chandra Hope's Bacon. Because the E is kind of like hidden behind her fiery hair. It's a 6 mana planeswalker. 4 and double red. That's a lot of mana. But it also has a lot of loyalty, 5. And it has a static. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. This ability triggers only once each turn. I really like this. Like, it looks awkward, this line of the wording. Like, aside, because instead you could say when you cast the first spell, but now it works if you cast a spell before Chandra resolves, which is cool. Kinda wish that they did the same thing on Karizev and Baral, but on that card you had so much text that I understand why they chose this. Also, like, it's kind of different, I guess. No, it's not kind of different. It's the same, but that card had the same. Like, that card had a lot of texts anyway, so yeah. So, back to Chandra. It has +2, add 2 mana in any combination of colors. +1, exile the top 5 cards of your library. Until the end of your next turn, you may cast an instant or sorcery spell from among those exiled cards. And -X, Chandra Hope's Beacon deals X damage to each of up to 2 targets. This card only has pluses, and I guess -X, but it has 2 pluses, which is a very strong thing in Planeswalker. And like, it kinda like the card that I likened it to before we started was Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, in a sense of you can play it plus to get mana and impact the board immediately, or you can just minus it. You can cash it in to kill Sheoldred and another creature, or something like that, which is a strong effect. Don't get me wrong. Also, this plus is quite fast, and you can just use it to dome your opponent for 10 after not many turns. And yeah, the thing that I don't like about this card is that it adds mana instead of untapping your lands, so you can't hold up counterspell after you play it, which I think matters against a good amount of combo or decks in Pioneer. You don't want to just tap out for it against Lotus Field or Greasefang or Mono Green. So that's why I'm less excited about the card, but I still think it's a reasonable card to have in your deck, basically.
Yeah, like the static is so powerful that even if the second plus wasn't the plus, but like 0 or even minus, the card.
No, I
would
think
be
if
still
it was
playable.
minus, it would be significantly worse.
Yes, but still playable. And now,
I don't
like,
know.
I feel that it could be still good, but we have the card like we see, like with the plus ability, so it's obviously better. And like,
If the mana ability
curious.
was 0 or minus, maybe. Because the ability you will want to use every turn after you resolve it, after you untap with it, will be the second ability. You want to use it every
after
turn.
you untap. That's true.
Yes.
Like, but the line turn 6 Chandra, go plus and play a removal spell that's copied. Like, it's so insane. Like, you have a Planeswalker with 7 loyalty. You killed 2 of the opponent's creatures, and like, good luck
Are you
dealing with it.
+2 and you cast Treasure Cruise and you draw 6 cards?
Yes, that's also.
Or you add 1 blue and 1 red mana, you draw 6 cards, and then you kill something. Because you definitely find Fire Impulse in those 6 cards, right? Unless you are extremely unlucky. Okay. Now we are abandoning the blue-red theme, and we are closing our list with a bunch of one-offs for like different strategies that maybe like they are not in the clusters because they are clusters on their own, basically. The first one is Errant, and that's I think Americans would say Giada. I would go with Yada or Giada.
Giada easy.
I like Giada.
Yada.
Because I think we already talked about this. And there is a very famous basketball player, and his name is Giannis, or Giannis. Giannis, without this I on the end. Never mind. Still, it's pronounced Giannis, and I like the same purpose here, or the same rule.
Let's talk about cards.
Errant and Yada.
Okay.
It's a legendary creature, human angel for 1 colorless white and blue, so 3 mana total, 2 free flying flash or flash flying. You may look at the top card of your library at any time, and you may
Anytime.
cast spells with flash or flying from the top of your library. So what it is card similar to Realm Walker. Realm Walker, yes, Realm Walker, the green shapeshifter guy
yes.
from Kaldheim. But it's not green. So if you want to play like blue-white spirits, for example, you don't have to splash a color. Do you want to splash a color and waste for collected company? Who knows?
Maybe.
Maybe, maybe not. People have been playing band, mono blue, and blue-white spirits in Pioneer, and everyone has a different opinion on which version is the best. So maybe some people will play it in spirits. So who knows? It's not a spirit by its own, but still.
I really like it can like maybe the angels can go from green and white to band just because this card in angels looks incredible.
You can just play a Realm Walker in Angels, and you don't have to splash color.
Yeah, like the flash in angels won't matter that much, but like on the other hand, flash in spirits will look
Yes.
insane because you can like represent Super Queller. Opponent will be like, okay, maybe I won't play into this obvious Super Queller. then you go-
your card. And then you go, bah! And
like,
your mana is not
do-
wasted, and your opponent
like-
is wasted.
do they have a gun on the?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
It-
cool.
It looks like a scene from some Doctor Who episode or
Yes.
something like that.
Yes.
I assume I never saw a single episode of Doctor Who, but I imagine it looks something like that. Okay. The next card is the card that is Sodek's favorite card of all time, and I think it's not that's good. And it's
It's
Glistening Deluge,
Yes.
which is a sorcery from the same cycle as Change the Equation, I guess. It's a 1 and double black, so 3 mana total. All creatures get -1/-1 until end of turn. Creatures that are green and or white get an additional -2/-2. So if you're playing against green or white creatures, it's a 3 mana -3/-3. Is this card gonna see play in Pioneer? In my opinion,
Maybe.
no.
Maybe.
Why? Because it doesn't kill Adeline. You already could play Witch's Vengeance against humans, if that's what you wanted, which is a 3 mana, choose a creature type, -3/-3 for each creature's, for every creature with the set chosen type gets -3/-3 EOT. So the fact that it doesn't kill Adeline is extremely important because it doesn't even match well against, like, if your opponent goes turn 3 Adeline, you are not happy casting this card on turn 3 because it will right away attack you for at least 3 damage, if not more.
Yeah, and it's even worse versus angels because there's
So
Bishop
many
of
tech
Wings.
2 force, yeah,
Yeah, like
or X force rather.
Righteous Valkyrie.
Righteous Valkyrie, Bishop of Wings, yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's not the best card.
I don't
ever.
think it's great. I don't. I
Maybe.
think it will kill most things against Greasefang, because it will kill like Greasefang and.
Yeah, but then you tap out and they agree.
Yes. But sometimes if you're playing like those mid-range or control decks, you go to this stages of the game when they just play Greasefang and they only have like a Sika's Chariot or something, and then like it kills Chariot tokens and Greasefang and Raffine's format, which is okay. I don't think it's
And-
a great type of effect.
Finder.
Yes, I've been playing Meathook Massacre in blue-black recently, and it came up somewhat often that it's a decent card against Greasefang to have like in a small amount. So I can see it being okay there, but it's not like great because it doesn't kill Greasefang in their main line, which is Greasefang get Parhelion kill you, and it doesn't kill Parhelion Angels as well, unlike Meathook Massacre can. So yeah, we'll see, but I'm not super excited about this card. Another card.
After you tell me, I'm not too.
Yeah.
I'm not excited. Okay.
Another card that I'm not that excited about, but might see some play, is Elspeth's Smite, which is a white instant for 1 white mana. It deals 3 damage to target attacking or blocking creature. If that creature would die this turn, exile it instead. So it's basically, if you need more cheap removal for blue-white in Pioneer, which is something that you kind of need, I think, in this deck sometimes, that's a decent card to do that. because it kills
Cool.
a reasonable amount of creatures for 1 mana. Kills most humans, sans Adeline, of course. Kills like Bone Crusher Giants. You can, I guess you don't really have blockers in blue-white, so you can't like combine a blocker with this to cleanly deal with All-Growth Troll. But still, like, sometimes you can throw 2 of those at Shieldred or something. I don't know. It's just a role player if you need more chip removal, and that's it. Nothing.
Yeah,
to
the card
write home
the
about.
card will help you. The card will help you survive early turns, and that's everything you want to
Yes,
see
and
in blue white.
yes, and the card that's definitely more exciting than the last 3 cards is Knight Errant of Eos. It's a 4 and a white, so 5 mana total. Creature, human knight, 4 and 4/4. When knight, I guess, like you might ask yourself, oh, it's a 5 mana human. Why would you want to play this card in Pioneer? Because humans are, a low curve deck. Yada yada yada. Do not confuse it with Giada. And I will tell you that this card has Convoke, and you will be, oh, I'm very sorry, Endrek, that I doubted you. And when you play Knight Errant of Eos, when it enters the battlefield, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal up to 2 creature cards with mana value X or less from among them, where X is the number of creatures that convoked Knight Errant of Eos. Put the revealed cards into your hand, then shuffle.
Okay, like
Why do you shuffle? Why do you don't put those revealed cards on the bottom? That's weird. I just assumed, like, I think they
Yes.
can. That's very weird. I'm tilted now. I'm tilted because that doesn't make much sense, I think. But yeah, aside from this, which is clearly an overlook in design, I think that this card is pretty cool. It serves a somewhat similar purpose, I guess, to maybe not similar purpose to Venerated Loxodon. Like, it's a very similar stat line, right? You have a 5 mana 4/4 with Convoke, and then you get more bonus the more creatures you convoke with. But like, Humans is a deck that's pretty good at creating a lot of power, and a deck that's not very good at card advantage. So it's a really good card against, like, I don't know, red-black, for example.
like versus red black, that there's a problem with having creatures to convoke in early game, but I think that eventually you will have some like weak creatures to work with, like at
yes.
these 2. As long as you have 2 creatures, you should be able to grab anything. What I really like about this card, it will help you get over the top, because if you have some form of stalemates, like a lot of creatures
Stalemates,
in both
yes.
sides, yeah. You can play Knight Errant of Eos for 5 convoke
And
ability,
get another one.
to get another one and something,
And then,
like, that's a lot of value.
as DJ Khaled said, another one.
Yeah, so like eventually you will run away with the game. Obviously, if you don't die in a Screen Bank because you tapped 5 creatures to play this one.
That's true.
But,
But,
like, I
you
feel
get a
that-
blocker. You get a 4/4
I feel
blocker.
that Pioneer Humans were a bit too fair to compete with other decks in the format. Like the results from the Pro to like 36% showed it, in my opinion. And like, I feel that Knight Errant of Eos, like, you can play like 3 copies of it, and you will have this extra punch on turns 3-4. To create extra power, to create to get back cards, to not like lose fuel and lose because you were just a bit too short on creatures to cast, because
Yeah.
like you will want have to have like yet another attacker to go white. You want to have yet another human to put counters on Thalia's Lieutenant. Lieutenant. Sorry,
Lieutenant.
Lieutenant. Thank you.
Uh,
So I really like this card, and I feel it will maybe not revolutionize, but it will fit very well into White Humans deck.
So as you might see, my facial expression is not super pleased, but mostly because Sodek used the word which I very much dislike, especially in this context, because I think it's misused, which is fair. I think that humans will be deck that's always will be fair. And I agree with sentiment. I would just use the other word. I think that humans are a bit too much of a one-dimensional standard, standard aggro deck, because if your opponent throw a combo at you, you will probably die. If your opponent has a pile of removal, you will probably die. What are you beating with this deck? Really, not much. And Knight Errant of Eos will be really good at dealing with removal spells. Like, how often you will go like, I don't know, you are going on off the top of your deck, you might have one creature lying around, you draw Knight Errant of Eos, you activate your Mutavault, you convoke with Mutavault, and then you suddenly are looking for 2/2 drops in your top 6 cards. And how often you will tap all your board to cast it, and then you will be out of blockers, but you will find 2 blockers that you can play because you spent 0 mana to cast this card. I think it will also work quite well with Wedding Announcement, which is a card that produces like tokens that are not that great on their own, but just are bodies for this card. Or with Adeline, like it all sounds fairly win more. You play your 3 drops and then your 5 drop is better. But I definitely think that this card will be good, and I think that for this deck to be a competitive deck in Pioneer, I think you need more of what made Modern Humans a good deck. You need those different forms of like disruption for different decks. I don't think Talia is enough to win your Lotus Field matchups, for example. And what this card does is that, I don't know, if the card you want for Lotus Field is like, I don't know, Archon of Emeria, it can get non-human creatures. You can get Archon of Emeria with this card. Maybe there's a human I'm blanking on that's very good against Lotus Field. But I don't think
Bless
so.
you.
Thank you. But yeah, this is just a good winning card for mediocre or bad even winning deck that maybe will be a good winning deck if it gets that card. All right, I think that's it.
Yeah, we talked a lot about all Pioneer cards. Like, there's a few cards that can be good for Modern, but let's not forget that nowadays, and it's really cool to say that nowadays sets are not super impactful for Modern. So you'll see a lot of Rhinos, a lot of Ragavans, a lot of creativity, Avons, etc., and Hammers all the time. Like, I don't expect to see any major changes for Modern. Like, there isn't any new combo that will break the format in half. So similarly to Pioneer, I feel that the new set will add a few more really cool options, but nothing will be broken or consider that it will require a real response from the format. So good set. I also really like I would like I'm going to the Pro Tour and I will be forced to play drafts, but I don't feel that forced since the set looks kind of cool. Like, I'm a bit worried about these other cards you can get, like this Ragavan, like what, like random.
Imagine sitting to the
cards from
first round of your draft at the PT and your opponent goes Mounted Ragavan.
Like,
And you're like,
thank you.
okay. Okay. Why is there no inversion Young Wolf that I can play on turn 1 to block this Ragavan? Like, what the fuck is going on? But yeah. Now, Sodek, I will ask you to join me in prayer for Lord of the Rings to not be completely shitty set for Modern. Okay.
It's sadly it looks like it so far like this. Like, I feel that Wizards.
Well,
were
you
saying
remember first cards that we saw for Modern Horizons 1 and 2? They weren't that great. One of the first cards we
Urza
said...
Saga? You
Yeah.
don't remember Urza Saga?
You remember Serras the Benevolent, or however it's called,
Or squirrels. Okay, squirrels.
or Squirrels. Like,
Yeah, that's true.
there are definitely cards that were super bad that way, like first previews for those sets. Like, I'm not saying that I want an overhaul as big as Modern Horizons 2. Like, I wouldn't mind it, but I think it's very important for Lord of the Rings to change something in Modern. I think there are many people that have this mentality of, okay, I'm kind of annoyed with how Modern looks like right now, and it's been 2 years of just playing Ragavans and everything else, but we have new set that's straight to Modern, higher power level, yada, yada, yada. So something gotta change, right? And if it doesn't change, then those people who were hoping for this change will be very, very displeased. And I think that at that point, we might see some action in the format.
Yeah, like personally, Jędrek, do you think that Modern? Okay, do you think Modern is healthy? I think
Yes,
we
I
all
think it's very
agree
healthy.
It's a really good format. Do you think it's maybe not boring, but kind of stale at the
I
moment?
think that I want Modern to rotate like every 2 years.
Yeah,
more
yeah,
or
like,
less.
Even not rotate, like add
Semi-rotate, I guess.
something yeah, semi-rotate. That's the
Like,
best
I
word.
still want those cards that I bought for a bunch of money to be playable, and the cards that I like to be playable, but I would like to play something else, I guess, like a different environment. And I think you need that. I think 2 years is a long, long time. Many people would say, but it's good that Modern, like the goal of Modern was to buy an Affinity deck and play it for 1,000 years without buying any new cards. I don't feel that way. I like Modern that rotate, like changing significantly every 2 years. I think that's a good, like a good period of time, because I think we are in like late stage of Ragavan or MH2 Modern, and I think people are getting kind of tired. Like, I really like playing that format. I love playing, like, I don't know, Merktide Mirrors, or I like playing against Hammer. There are decks that I don't like playing against that much, and cards that I think are too good, but in general, I think that the gameplay and the games are very interesting, very decision heavy, and it's just a very good format to play. But also, like, how many times you can play against those decks and still feel the same amount of satisfaction? Like,
Yeah, I'm already closer to Pioneer than to Modern nowadays. Like, it sounds scary, it's strange, whatever. Like, I'm like my weapons of choice in Modern
are terrible.
are not the coolest decks, like the most brilliant ones when you play. Like, for example, Living End, you gotta just cycle. And hope
I
that
can't imagine
Cascade-
playing one tournament with Living End, let alone like.
and imagine playing
Year.
like 6 months. Yeah. So, so I would like to see something new. Some, like, for instance, like if not Pro Tour and not Pioneer, I would probably work more on Glorious Vengeance decks, because I feel they are really cool,
Yes.
and like there's a potential there. But like facing the same creativity, the same Murktide, the same Hammer over and over, and this fucking super pushed hate cards like Sanctifier, like, please ban them, because I have to play against them.
Very simple. We just need Golgari Grave Troll.
Yes, Grave Troll will be absolutely fair, easy unban.
And just color shift every black card in red to green.
Yes, and Force of Vigor will be good. in
Oh
the
no,
deck.
it's okay. That's
of-
too
All
much.
of the sudden.
That's too much.
Okay.
Okay.
Overall, I hope that Lord of the Rings will give us like fresh look. on the
Breath of
format.
Air.
Yes.
Also, it will be really cool for the Pro Tour if Modern, because the Modern PT, the PT Barcelona will be Modern. It's the end of July. And I would really like for this to be like a fresh and exciting format to showcase on Magic's biggest stage. Okay. Over hour and a half. Thanks so much for watching, as always. As well as always, every link is down in the description. Website, Twitter, Twitches, we don't stream almost at all, but still those links are down there. You can click them if you want. Give us a follow. We will be very, 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 very grateful.
You
And
can also click mysticalteachings.com and find our guides because we
that's actually an important link. So click that one.
yeah,
And we'll see you.
and read a lot.
We'll see you next week. Hashtag consistency, hashtag back-to-back weeks for our traditional 6 weeks or bi-quarterly modern metagame update. Take care and bye-bye.
See ya.